Hello, welcome to the musical show. First off, I just want to say sorry for how late I am, but I had a fucking dentist appointment. I had a load of like bloody album reactions I wanted to just get recorded and sorted. Because I've got like the whole day blocked today because I'm at Halifax away. Probably as you're watching, maybe, if it's only just came out. Or maybe it's like after the game and it might even be Sunday now. But yeah, that's how it is, I suppose. I just haven't had the time to come to it because I've obviously wanted time to myself, just for my own time. Obviously, I've had, school and the fucking tribulations of all that, and yeah, it's just been a bit chaotic today because like I've had a lot of shit I've wanted to do. So sadly, this has been sort of put on the back burner because I enjoy editing it the least. I'll be completely honest. Although I don't enjoy editing out on reactions at all. They're just so tedious. But let's get this over and done with. I'll be as quick as I can because like it's 10:15 and I've probably got to be up early tomorrow. I mean, I don't have to be up that early to be fair, but I'd rather be up early. Let's start off with Key Glock's Glaucoma 2, which is genuinely great. This thing is filled with banger after banger and has some really interesting production choices that I haven't really heard before on the trap scene, which honestly, these days, it's a rarity to hear stuff unique in the trap scene, I'll be completely honest. The rapping was fire, the beats were incredible, and sure, it was a little formulaic throughout, but come on. This album has banger after banger after banger. I just can't keep telling you, there's bangers, and a lot of them. Yeah. Songs such as The Incredible 2 for 1 have great beats, and in this example, it kind of tells you in the album title. Two beat in one song. Beat switch, it's fire. And are just really fun to listen to. Fucker Features, also another standout that I want to praise in particular, is holy shit, it's hard and that beat made me float. And also, like, this is true, this guy don't have features on his shit. And it's quite impressive that he can make such good music despite it. But, as I said, it is formulaic, and sadly, there's one or two others amongst Money Over Hose that are boring as hell and just like duds, really. Overall, though, the album was fun, interesting, and genuinely great, which is a rarity in trap these days. It's an 8.2 out of 10 in my eyes. Sexy Red, Hood Hottest Princess is not that. That's why I've put it below that. And it's the next thing I'm going to review. I mean, it was awful. But not one of the worst things I've ever heard. I do think people over-exaggerate the lack of quality here for sure. The production wasn't like too bad in terms of like beats and stuff, and Ski Yee had a nice beat. Like I'll be honest, I still get Ski stuck in my head. I'm normal. However, Red here just isn't the best rapper technically. Has an annoying voice, annoying flows, annoying punchlines, annoying bars. Like she's just annoying to me. She just grates on my ears. But like for a lot of people, they'll see the appeal thing. But it's camp-ish in terms of the subject matter. It's got its appeal. It's got its fans, I presume. So I semi get why she's came out of nowhere. Also, especially towards the start of the song, towards the start of the album, in songs such as like "I'm the Shit," the mixing sucked and the vocals sounded awful. But there are horrible songs. Sexy Walk is a bop. Ski Yee, kind of a bop as well. But the second half is pretty awful. Juicy J on his feature was terrible. And the song Strictly for the Strippers had a horrendous and tacky interpretation of that one hip-hop song that Rich Flex did after the beat switch. I don't even know the name of the song. I just know that it's an interpolation and it's fucking awful. But yeah, it does suck. It's boring, annoying at times, and mixed pretty poorly. She could make some bangers with the ghostwriter though. I ain't even gonna lie. 2.5 out of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jesus Christ, I wrote a lot for him. That 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 albums. I think I only mentioned like 12 in the episode, but there was like 2 I went back to. One because someone recommended me it and would never shut the fuck up about it. And the other because I only really half listened to it, I'll be completely honest. And it was this one. Roger Waters with his redux of Dark Side of the Moon. Honestly, I avoided this one. Like I avoided Void Die. I just decided... I don't know which version of Void Die is meant to be like the actual full version of the album. What they wanted the album to be originally. how they felt the album was meant to sound like. I don't know whether it's the version that I'm just not going to listen to in any form because it's on some weird NFT site and it can't be asked, or the streaming version. So I've just decided I'm just going to skip that album entirely. But this one, I did try to avoid like the Blake, but I was on a Brad Taste live stream, so I like half listened to it through there. And from that alone, I've just decided that it sucks because it does. It absolutely does. And it wasn't even bad in a cool way. It was just boring and slow for no reason, and the vocals were awful. The man reverted to spoken word for a reason, and it may cause me to never hear Time the same way again. That chorus in the bloody... The Great Gig in the Sky didn't even have like any sort of vocals in the background. It was just the instrumental, and it was just pretty dry and awful. Us and Them was also really hard to get through, as, oh my god, it's boring. But there are still some of the elements that made the album great. There's nice orchestral sections dotted around, and I could also just about tolerate Speak to Me, I guess. If that counts for something, because it's hard to ruin a track that's basically an interlude. But yeah, the singing's bad when he's even singing, and the album just drags on. The charm that was on the original version and why that's so acclaimed and stuff just isn't found here. 1.1 out of 10. Moving on to Pitbull with Track House, which is degenerate as fuck. I was sat down and not high on cocaine when I listened, so it made it really not work at all, as I could hear how awful the interpolations were and how cringe the music was, for want of better terminology, because like the word cringe makes people cringe now. No one uses cringe anymore. Songs such as Bandolero make me want to kill myself, as holy fucking shit the interpolation on that one and a couple of others were really bad. Also other examples such as Suave of just terrible songs. His music is heavily reliant on being camp, and that only works a little. Freak 54 was kind of a bop, but that aside, yeah. Wasn't great, and it was sometimes like awful. Jumpin', for example, and the two I mentioned like 30 seconds ago. One of the corniest songs I've heard in quite some time, Jumpin'. But yeah, most of this album is corny and tacky, and overall, it just doesn't appeal to me. To me, it's just a load of crap. 1.1 out of 10. Moving on to Powerful with Gather by the Lantern. Again, this one isn't as bad in the way others such as the Pitbull album was bad. That one was laughably bad, but this was just a boring slog. And the thing that makes it more impressive that they made it a boring slog is that it's literally not even half an hour long. And there are few interesting tracks. I get that Flashlights in the Forest isn't like awful, but I just can't remember it at all. Apart from that, the instrumental was okay, and it didn't do anything for me. Aside from that, main gripe with the album is that the vocals are awful. It's that type of cursive singing that sounds like shit. You know what I mean? That was a terrible impression of it, but whatever. And there are terrible songs such as No Balls where it's even worse because like the song's awful as well. So yeah. This album sucks. The instrumentals are bland and the vocals are horrendous. And that's enough to make an experience truly awful. Even if there's nothing like laughably bad about it, apart from like maybe one track. Although there are 9 tracks, so that's still pretty bad. 1.2 out of 10 overall as a rating. Next up is 1017 Alex 9SM with Compilation Volume 1. And judging off this, I hope it's the last one. This was an experience. It was eclectic in terms of its soundscape, going from Rage with Fouché over a Rage beat for some reason. That was weird and awful. To like some sort of weird drone thing. And then there's also like the indie Montel Fish stuff. Sweet to Prom Queen is such a weird and uncohesive transition. I'd also like to dwell on Sweet for a minute, as oh my god, it's awful. It starts off awfully with a bad instrumental, an awful singer from Shep Roby, then as a seizure at the end. You're just going to have to listen for yourself. It's so funny. Amongst this, the beats in general are bland and boring and mixed in so poorly on occasions, you can barely hear them, which is cool. You can tell, even when there were people like BNX and Filthy on this, they just didn't put any effort in, which I don't blame them. Also, other horrendous offbeat performances in terms of rapping, and moments of pure talentlessness dotted around the album, including the one I just mentioned. I'm glad to skip Hard Rock's album now because the 2 appearances he had were unlistenable here. But there are positives. Minotaur songs, the Montel Fish one I semi-mentioned, was the best song of the album by far. Montel Fish is fire and he didn't do anything wrong here. Amazing song. Prom Queen was also cool enough atmospherically and fun and progresses really well. But the bad outweighs the good and the bad is really bad. So sadly, the album sucks. 2.6 out of 10. Moving on to Omar Apollo for Live With Me. And sadly, the amazing cover art transcends the EP's quality by a very large margin. I Slippin' was empty instrumentally and tried to be Nikes, which it did successfully as the song is almost as bad. I hate Nikes so much, it's such a terrible song. Omar was just as bad as Frank was on that too, so it's basically Nikes too. I hate Nikes so much, one of the worst songs of all time. Look, Blonde is mid. I don't give a fuck. Blonde is boring. I'm just going to say it. Anyway, so trying to impersonate it will make it suck, because that album is mid too. Love For Me had a very similar empty feel, but that did have a nice progression and was a semi-bop. And then Angel was cancer. He used autotune that never sounded good on him ever, or some weird vocal effects to create something, and he created something terrible. Pilot, at least it tried to be cool, the final track, but it just didn't really resonate. It sounded terrible to me. But yeah, overall, this thing sucked. The instrumentals were empty and boring, and Omar's not a very good singer. Well, he is. He just doesn't like to be a very good singer. He just prefers to put his crappy autotune over it instead. 2.6 out of 10. Now, it's on to the big one. Drake for All the Dogs. People I know personally or just online in the TikTok scene of music people wouldn't be surprised I'm not particularly rocking with this thing. And those who saw the reaction video or have heard the album themselves probably will understand. First off, the album's insanely boring. He promised to bring back R&B Drake, and he did, and it left us wanting the trap stuff back, as man did that shine the R&B completely. Songs such as First Person Shooter, which by the way J. Cole absolutely went crazy on, it was nothing short of ridiculous. Dare I say, a better version of Meltdown? No, Meltdown's a better song, but it's amazing though. Daylight, which has Adonis on the back end over a boom bap beat, was cute and cool. Fear of Heights was really well produced and just a really good song in general. Slime You Out. Sorry, that was another sentence. And they were all a lot more trap than R&B. Slime You Out, honestly, is the only R&B song I can remember not to be mid. And that was mainly because of SZA. Being more general, though, in terms of critiques, the album's too long. For an album with a lot of boring songs, being over 80 minutes and 21 songs long doesn't do it very good. Not counting the interludes, obviously. It's just certified lover boy in a way, but arguably less high highs. There's not one song on here on par with Champagne Poetry. This was such a slog and tough listener. Not one I probably will hear again in full, anyway, because why the hell would I listen to a mid-21 track album again? Anyway, amongst this, for a Drake album, he seems to be the worst part of his song a few too many times. Most of the time. Bad Bunny and the beat were... Actually, no, Bad Bunny was kind of crap on Gently, but the beat was decent enough in its field. And Drake completely decides, hey, Bad Bunny speaks Spanish, so I will speak Spanish. And yeah, it's cancer. Even on Rich Baby Daddy, where Sexy Red had the whole "Stay that ass for Drake," he's on your knee, the hook sucked and it didn't really fit the beat. And SZA had to carry the thing with a pretty average SZA vocal thing. Drake was still the worst part because his verse sucked, and that "Dog Days Are Over" interpolation made me want to kill myself. I don't know whether I've mentioned the West End Girls. Yeah, All the Parties, West End Girls interpolation. That sucked too. The whole song sucked, really. Chief Keef sounded goofy and he carried. That's all I'm going to say. He was also only there for 10 seconds. And as I said, it just wasn't very good either. And yeah, his performances were mostly pretty bad, and the lyricism, the post-nut clarity, I came to my senses. Isn't he in his... Isn't he like 35 now? Genuinely. And he's got a 6-year-old, and this is what he's saying. But yeah, as I said, there were bangers and highlights that I previously mentioned, but those aside, I've pretty much mentioned them all. Away From Home is a really nice track, but that aside, not much else to mention that isn't the mid-slog stuff or the fucking awful stuff, which I've already pretty much mentioned the main culprits. The BBL Love interlude is another one. That's one of the worst interludes of all time already. So yeah, the album's mid and insanely frustrating, as if he actually tried to go for quality over quantity, which he'll never do because he's greedy and shit as a person. We'd have a good album, maybe, but you can only wish. 5.2 out of 10. Moving on to Of Mice and Men with Tether, which isn't the worst thing I've ever heard, but it's corny. The cringe I felt listening to Castaway was more cringe-inducing than hearing The Way of Cringe, or The Way of Castaway. And thinking of that fucking Backyardigans beat. Was the Backyardigans? Hopefully. The vocals were just fine, but were sort of annoying, and just the whole album just felt like Linkin Park, but even more annoying. And they were already really fucking annoying, but at least the music was good. Most songs had potential, but became annoying straight after the intro, and were pretty basic. And the way songs such as Shiver that just sucked ass. So yeah, due to sheer corniness. But it was really awful, and Enraptured went hard, as did one or two others. But overall, this thing was pretty annoying, in spite of the good elements that are absolutely there. And while it's never bad, it could have been more, with the potential that it did show at the start, I guess. 5.2 out of 10. Moving on to Wiz Khalifa with Cali Sober, and this is the second project of the year. I guess it's an upgrade on Sia. Not by much though. Sure, this was shorter, and for that reason, far more enjoyable, but the quality was still lacking. Even in highlights such as Would Be Muggers, it was pretty corny. This thing was corny as fuck, especially towards the beginning, just in general, so I might as well just get that critique out of the way. After that, though, the album, it's more of a mixtape, but whatever. It seemed to come and go. Nothing really stuck in my mind for being good or bad, apart from that Wiz isn't like the worst thing I've ever heard, in contrary to what I was expecting, and that Owned by the Man was boring and sucked ass, and that The Last of Freddy was a fucking bop. Everything else was fine or like decent enough, so overall, it's another project by Wiz that does nothing to stick in the memory and is overall pretty mid. 5.4 out of 10. Moving on to Boy With You with Lucid Dreams. Is the album bad? Honestly, no it's not. Is it his best? Yeah, probably. But it's not going to turn any doubters of his talent or just haters of him into like sudden stands. It's not going to happen. He just does what he always does, and it doesn't sound as bad. The instrumentals are a lot more fleshed out and well produced than usual, and his vocals are inoffensive as they always are. The lyricism, though, really falls behind these two categories, obviously. It isn't as corny as he usually is, but with this being his fourth project, he's just running out of ideas. He's reusing lines. And you're like, oh wait, he used this like a year ago. He used this like 2 months ago. He used that 2 songs ago. Like literally, he's just running out of ideas. He's just gonna end up writing the exact same corny breakup song at some point, because that's all he knows. But yeah, get a ghostwriter. On to individual tracks though, however, and there were some bops such as Homesick. And I know it's an interlude technically, but Lucid was really good, so yeah. But there are duds, and my god are Migraines and Baby Doll corny, but don't be surprised that a Boy With You album's corny. Overall though, album's nothing new and nothing special, but he does the stuff like ever so slightly better than he usually does. It's still not great, but hey, we're not going to get that much. 5.9 out of 10. Next up is El Camino, They Spit on Jesus. By the way, ignore the album cover in the last video, because what the fuck. Anyway, I've got a different one, which is a lot less dodgy, so there you are. It's a confusing album, this. For a start, the album cover, the normal one, is strange, and I don't know whether I read the lyrics wrong, but I feel like I'm getting like a pro-Christian attitude, and then you've got a bunch of people fucking in front of the Last Supper. It's confusing. But I might have just misread that, so I'm just going to talk about the music. It's decent enough. The beats are solid, the rapping is solid. It's just a really solid project that isn't anything special, but nothing's awful either. Highs and lows exist though. Cry With Me is is an introspective song done right and absolutely fire, and Victory fucking sucks. Overall, though, it's in the middle. It's solid, but nothing all that interesting. 6.7 out of 10. Moving on to Colby Kaya, I think that's how you pronounce the name, with Along the Way. I get that its basic progressions and just basic nature in general can be a turn off, but the album was clearly made to be nothing more than a crop of decent enough country bangers, and for that, it does do its job. The instrumentals are well produced, and the choruses are pretty fire. For someone, and Still Gonna Miss You, fucking slap. And I'm not gonna act like they don't, because they aren't anything new. But yeah, it is basic. And albums that are less basic are obviously going to be more fulfilling, and this album does have duds. Old and New sounded the exact same as the song prior, and oh my god, it was boring. Overall, though, the album's good for what it is, and full of bangers. 7.1 out of 10. Moving on to Sean Slawson. Why do I keep saying Shawnson? Slawnson Malone 1, or whatever his name is, with Excelsior. The guy's clearly talented. Some of his unique and left field ideas he used in the thing were fire as fuck and really refreshing in the music industry. But as an album experience, it comes and goes. Songs such as The Weather, like, they are incredible. They do stick in the memory, but one and two others aside, and if for either reason, really, the album just, like, exists, I guess. Like, you know there's a lot of talent, you know it's great, but, like, it doesn't stick in the memory, despite its obvious impressiveness. And I would probably only return to, like, one or two tracks. And there are also basic and uninteresting interludes that way it needed and do nothing, amongst the odd track that's just okay. Challenger is just okay. Undercommons is just okay. Two examples there, and a fair few tracks and interludes are like that. But yeah, overall, the album's not that fulfilling, but it's impressive when it's really good, and when it's at its best, it's unrivaled by multiple albums this year at the like top ends of my lists. 7.5 out of 10. Isley with From the Valley up next. Some good folk and country stuff. It's good. The highs are really high, and there are some absolutely outstanding instrumentals and tracks such as Yellow Rose that are really well produced in my eyes. It does what Zach Bryan was trying to do on his debut, but it's actually good this time. Bit of a shame about the lyricism on Yellow Roses though, that song was corny. Fair few corny tracks. No California comes to mind as well. And among this, while it has some relatively basic tracks, some of the weird bangers such as Someone Else, where the melancholic chorus, I do still semi-remember. So, yeah, and I haven't heard it in like a couple of days now, so yeah. But they were still basic, and with the basic tracks did come the odd duds, such as like Heart of Gold or something. Overall, the album has high highs, and while it's often pretty basic, it's a great and enjoyable listen that is one of the best country has served in a hot minute. 7.9 out of 10, but at the top, you'll know if you saw the reaction. It's obviously, it's Sufjan Stevens. Come on, of course it's Sufjan Stevens with Javelin. Of course it is. It's such a pretty goddamn album. The instrumentals are absolutely beautiful from front to back, and the lyricism, especially on tracks such as like Will Anybody Ever Love Me, is incredible. The crescendos on tracks such as So You Were Tired and the multiple ones on Shit Talk are ones that really hit the heartstrings quite a bit, and Shit Talk, just as a song, is an absolute, complete and utter masterpiece. The first listen experience, you'll see it in the fucking reaction thing. You might have already seen it. It was insane. Amongst this, he made some really interesting semi-experimental compositions sonically that also really worked on songs such as like Goodbye Evergreen. But there were some moments and tracks that came and went and weren't hugely interesting, such as the closer There's a World. The nice one they're on, but that's kind of it. Overall though, the album is a gem and is so pretty. It has such a pretty sound, and the best of this album is just ridiculous. And like even the flaws, they're still nice. They're still good tracks. There isn't a miss on here at all. And yeah, overall, incredible album. 8.9, one of the best all fucking year. This week has been hyped up for God knows how long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Everyone seems to have dropped this week. Even more so. I know I usually like review a similar amount of albums, but like they're all just random nobodies who features someone I recognise half the time. But like this time, I feel like I've pretty much heard of most of the artists here somehow. Let's start off with the big ones. West Side Gun with "And Then You Pray For Me." The album reaction's probably already out, so you might already semi-know what I think of it. This features A.A. Rashid, Jid, Tommy the Machine, Kanye Wilson with his tap dancing and stuff, Tommy the Machine again, Benny the Butcher, DJ Drama's on two songs, Stove God Cooks is on about 5, Rick Ross is featured, Estee Nack, whoever the hell he is featured, Trapaholics is featured, Gigs is featured. What's Gigs doing on a West Side Gun album? Ty Dolla $ign is featured. What's he doing? What's SG doing? Denzel Curry, Baldy James, Jeezy, they're also featured. I get them. And then you've got KC, Peasy, and Rome Streets. These aren't in the order they are featured. I usually do them in the order they are featured, but I just did this jumbled up because why not? 21 songs, 1 hour 15 minutes. I think pre-listening, I would have predicted an 8. Was I right? Well, no. I'll be honest. No, I wasn't. How wrong was I? What side of the spectrum was I on? I mean, you can already know if you watch the album reaction, or you follow my album of the year. I have an album of the year. I've never plugged it. It's just Jared B. So yeah, I've already got a review up there. Offset with "Set It Off" featuring Travis Scott. That song's fucking hugely loved, by the way. Also featured Don Toliver, Future, Cardi B twice, Mango Fu, Latto, Young Nudie, and Chloe. 21 songs, an hour long. Already listened. Going into it, I predicted it to be I would have said 6. Ken Carson with "A Great Chaos," which has been really hyped up by people who know of Opium. It features Destroy Lonely 3 times and Lil Uzi Vert on a song with Destroy Lonely. 18 songs, 46 minutes long. Is it an improvement over everything he's ever done? Maybe. Bad Bunny with... This is going to test my... I take Spanish for GCSE. This is going to fucking test my thingy. Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana. Was that good? Hopefully. Oh, thank God it has Where She Goes. Let's go. At least there's one good song on there. 22 songs, 1 hour, 21 minutes long. From what I've heard, this album's kind of going to be hell. Yay. I'm predicting a 4. Mike, and it's going to be so boring. Not this one. Mike's going to be fire with "Burn a Desire" here, featuring Klein, Ill Sweatshirt, Fashion Spitter, Liv.E, Venna, Anoal Wapo Sandra, I can't pronounce that surname, Taka, El Costello, Neonte, Lila Romani, Larry June, and Mark William Lewis. I'm just going to go back to the other one. Maya Kodunmi. Okay, that wasn't even too bad. Unless I've completely butchered it. 24 songs, 50 minutes long. I'm predicting this album to be a 7. Jamila Woods, I'm actually semi-looking forward to. I'm actually kind of really looking forward to, I'll be completely honest, with "Water Made Us, as it features Saba as well as Dwayne Dieter and Peter Cottondale. 17 songs, 45 minutes long. Fuck it, 8. I'm probably more realistic with a 7, but let's go bold. Why not? Even though I called the Nothing Bigger Than the Program project with Rock Marciano mid, I'm actually really excited for this Jay Worthy album, being The American Dream. Why? Because it has Harry Fraud production, and I love Harry Fraud. Harry Fraud is a fucking insane producer. It's also a collab album with Kamaya as well. It features Levin Kali as well as Big Body Bez, Max B, Ty Dolla $ign, and Ram. 9 songs, 26 minutes long. It's your typical length for a Harry Fraud project. I'm going to predict this to be a 7. Although this could be an 8 as well. Who knows? Jay Worthy could really redeem himself with this one after the mid-Rock Marciano project. Peasy, who I'd only heard of listening to the West Side Gun album that dropped also this Friday, that he's also on, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. As well as being featured on the West Side Gun album, he's got his own album featuring Key Glock, Babytron, Cash Kid, Moneyman, Larry June again. He's got 2 features this week. Damn. Babyface Ray. This is a weird feature list. You have people like Larry June, and then Babytron and Babyface Ray, and Cash Kids. I think Cash Kids is just one of those rappers who just takes the piss with his music. I'm not saying he doesn't put effort in, I'm just saying he just has fun. He just dicks around. Which is fair enough. You do you. Also features Skilla Baby, Ghetto Baby Boom, and RMC Mike, as well as Ty fucking... That's his 3rd feature this week, Ty Dolla $ign. This fucking... 16 songs, 46 minutes long. I'm going to predict a 7. Actually, really excited for this one. Troye Sivan with Something to Give Each Other, which according to the album cover is Head. Featuring Guitarra de la Fuente. 10 songs, 32 minutes long. I don't know what alternative album cover I'm going to use for this. I'll probably just end up using a picture of his face. Or I'll just use the cover for the single that interpolates I'm Blue or something. I'm predicting a 5. Geese with 4D Country, an EP, which I'm presuming is just throwaways from their album 3D Country, which I literally only just got to listen to like 2 weeks ago. 5 songs, 21 minutes long, 8. Ringo Starr with Rewind Forwards. 4 songs, 40 minutes long. I'm not fully sure that this isn't like a covers project, but it's an EP, so I don't really care. 4. Holly Humberstone, who's like one of the people of the UK that is just seen as like an indie god, has finally released her debut album. I know Can You Afford to Love Me is an album according to Spotify, but that's like an EP or something, technically. Paint My Bedroom Black, her first actual full-lengther. It features David, 13 songs, 42 minutes long. I'm going to say a 6 or a 7. I'm going to say 6. I've been too bold today. The Go, Rick Astley, has actually dropped an album. He still makes music. 12 songs, 41 minutes, 5. It's going to be Dad Rock, isn't it? Well, I already know it is, but whatever. Boy Genius, with some leftovers from the record, in a 4-song EP titled The Rest, which is 12 minutes long, and it's going to be a 7. Yeah. And finally, Kali with Fuck Girl Season, featuring Young Nudie, Glorilla, DJ Small 732, and NLE Chopper. I'm kind of really intrigued on this one. I don't know whether it's going to be kind of fun or one of the worst things I've ever heard. And that's why I want to listen to it. 4 songs, 9 minutes long. I'm going to say, I'm going to go in the middle.
Around a 3 or a 4.
And I'm just going to shout out Crosses even, who dropped Goodnight, God Bless, I Love You, Delete, which features LP, and Robert Smith. 15 songs, 49 minutes long. I just don't really feel like listening to it, I'll be completely honest. I can't be bothered. And I'm already listening to 15 albums this week, so yeah. I don't really have much space. Especially for an album I'm not intrigued about. Apparently the song with LP isn't meant to be that good, so why the hell would I listen? I could have really done with these weeks slowing down. They will. I think next week I don't know very much that's dropping, so hopefully there's not a bunch of surprise releases. So, hey. Alright, thanks for watching. I think it'll slow down next week from all these fuck tons of albums that I better do, because, like, Jesus. And I've got to do all these while pretty much not having Saturday, because I'm in Halifax half the day. I'll be fine. I'll be sound. Sunday I'll be busy when it comes to listening and stuff. Alright, bye.